Welcome to the Sleevy G Show. I'm the host for your most. My name is Gomez, and today our special guest is very special. There's a couple of reasons why. She is a former college basketball player, but also a former WNBA player. Yes, you heard it, WNBA player. But also, she's the owner and president, and I'm going to say CEO of her company called the Elevated Closet. Jordan, how are you today?
I am good. I mean, you make me sound really cool. I should just bring you to all my events and just have you hype me up, make me sound really good. No.
I hype everybody up pretty good, I think.
No, I'm doing really well. Thank you so much for having me.
Jordan, we actually started talking a while ago, and what's kind of funny is that we were just talking before we recorded. I found you on TikTok, and it was kind of funny. I'm like, wow, I never, I knew about guys big and tall because I'm big and tall in both ways, tall and girthy. And, I never thought about the woman side of it either. And you as you quote say on your Instagram and your TikTok, you're 6'4", and that is a tall woman.
Mhm.
That's for sure. I'm not gonna say that's a great thing, one thing. Two, I hope your husband's in the same height class as you, because I can only imagine the pictures. I've seen a couple of people where the woman is a little bit taller than the husband, and that's because she's wearing heels. But
Yeah.
you're naturally tall.
Yeah. Yeah. No, so yes, I'm 6'4". My husband we're about the same height. He's about an inch taller. So I'm like on the shorter end of 6'4", and he's on the
Okay.
taller end of 6'4". You know how it goes. If you start getting
Yep.
to like quarters and halves and all that. I thought I'd say he's about an inch taller than me. So we're pretty even. Most days we're just walking around. He's a little bit taller than me. But yeah, I would like to consider myself as like, if you I'm on the taller spectrum of
Mhm.
women for sure. I have because of my sports and my playing days, I have definitely met a lot of women taller than me. So it's not like I'm 7'5", I'm like the
No.
outlier. I'm definitely a tall woman. I'm definitely on the taller end of it. But it gives me a good advantage with my clothing brand for sure to be on the size end of where it's really difficult to find clothing,
Mhm.
but and I definitely can't find it in stores. So I'm not like a 6-footer who can make things work. I have not been able to make things work, and that's kind of why I do what I do.
So now we're going to kick it back a little back in the day a little bit before we get into Elevated Closet. Now, here you are, you're growing up, you're getting taller, you're realizing, okay, basketball's my thing, and volleyball probably, I'm assuming.
Yep.
And not sure if you did track or field or what you did in spring, but for sure fall and winter was volleyball, basketball.
Yep.
Now, you get a full ride to what I'm assuming was probably a Division I school for
Yes.
college.
Yep.
Now, growing up, going from grammar school to high school, now to college. Now you're still growing. Your body's growing, of course. How was it difficult as a child, growing from grammar school to high school to college, finding clothes at that time of? I'm not asking age, but let's just say the '80s to the '90s to the 2000s. Like, how was
Yeah.
that for you?
So I actually have a very interesting background. So I grew up with a stepdad and my mom. So I didn't know my biological dad till later in life. And so
Okay.
my stepdad raising me was only 5'8", and my mom is 5'6". So, and I was in a very, very small town. So, and my parents didn't have a lot of money. My dad was a mechanic and my mom was a waitress slash everything. So we didn't have a lot of money. So that even added more difficulty to finding clothes.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
and the fact that my parents were not tall like at all, so like they didn't understand the struggle. So all of a sudden they have this kid that is growing past them at, I want to say I surpassed my mom in like 6th grade.
Sounds
That's
familiar in my house.
yeah.
My parents were not tall either, and
Yeah.
we're trying to figure out what happened to me. My father was 5'6". My mom say I'm gonna say she's a good solid 5'5", maybe 5'6" too. Like you said, in that tall, like if we're going by exact, they were
Yeah, yeah.
like how you and your husband were, and then there's me.
Hmm.
Where the hell did I come from? We're still trying to figure that out still to this day. So don't,
Genetics are a strange thing. Like it makes sense for me now. I know I've always known who my biological father was. I just didn't have a relationship with him till later.
okay.
He's 6'10".
Ew.
So that makes sense of where I came from. Now he's kind of like you. My grandma was tall for her age. She was 5'11".
Mm-hmm.
And my grandpa was 6'1". You know how they kind of shrink a little bit, but they're
Yeah.
not like, they're not 7-footers. They're not like, 6.5 feet. They were tall. So, and then they have my father who's 6'10", and then my aunt ended up being 5'10", I think. She's 5'10".
Okay.
So yeah, same thing with you. That's like they're not overly, I mean, they're obviously taller than your parents, but that he's 6'10".
But the funny thing is, like you just said, you found out your dad is 6'10". Like my cousins were 6'5". They were taller than me without a doubt. They reached 6'5", and my uncle was 6'1". But again, you know how as old age gets, they start to shrink a little here and there. My grandfather was 6'1" too, but
Okay.
my grandmother, my step grandmother, as I would call her, but I still call her grandma too. She respectfully, my grandmother said it was okay. My family was short, but me, and probably a handful of, like you said, its genetics are really weird. So like you said, like for me, it was like fifth or sixth grade. I passed my parents pretty much.
Yeah.
So by the time I hit eighth grade, early high school, I was already 6 foot.
Yeah.
So I mean, I grew through. Well, I don't know if I grew 3 more inches. I grew 3 more inches the other way, but I became like 6'3" at high school level, 285 pounds, where I was a football player. And
Oh
when I
yeah.
say I,
Nice.
I might have shrunk a couple of inches just because of the head impacts and stuff like that from all the years of playing. But now you went to high school. Now you're in college. You're Division I basketball star. Like, how was that for you transitioning from? I don't know if it was like how small your town was, but you went from small town to now maybe Division I. Like, kind of people are looking at you like,
Oh
holy
yeah. It was
Christ.
Yeah, it was wild. So I definitely grew up in a small town. It was like 10,000 people, about an
Okay.
hour north of Las Vegas, in Nevada. And so it was quite a shock to the system. I mean, Albuquerque is not a huge city, but it's
Mhm.
definitely a 10,000 person town. And so I went to the University of New Mexico, and it's a college town.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like a big small town, and everybody knows everybody kind of thing. And if you're an athlete for UNM, you're definitely in the spotlight. So that was definitely a shock to my system. I got to I ended up starting my freshman year, and then like
Wow.
it was wild. Like I don't know if you know much about our history, but the Lady Lobos, we were top 25 in attendance. So not only do you have the spotlight of the town, but like it's a pretty big spotlight in women's basketball in general. And
Right.
by the time I was a senior, we had like 8 games that were sold out at 18,018. So we were playing
Wow.
in thousands of fans. And so there was definitely a huge spotlight. And it was, like I said, my freshman year, I was like, what? Like, I
Yeah.
think it was my freshman year, was it? It was one of the games where it was like sold out, and I like my ears were ringing, and I was like, what is this?
I can only imagine. I mean, I never got a chance to play on that level like you have, because I had injuries, unfortunately. But from other students that I've coached and I've talked to, and friends that have gone to play higher status football games, and I got to see a couple here and there. It's an amazing feat because I could say, wow, either I know that guy or I coach that guy. You know what I mean? For me, so that's an exciting time for me on that note. Now
Yeah.
you're we'll fast forward now to senior year. Now senior
Okay.
year had to be wild for you in college
Yeah.
because now you're a part of the starting five for almost 4 years in a row. You're in the starting five, and now you're possibly going to get drafted. Now, how is that being for wild for you? I mean, that's another wild thing, probably going crazy
Yeah.
with endorsements, probably, and agents, and interviews with other teams, with the WNBA teams, probably. I'm not Columbine. Duh, stupid.
Yeah.
Combine. Sorry, God, that's me being stupid.
No, no.
Combine.
Yeah. So it was actually very interesting because we're definitely gonna date myself right now. So 2003 was when I graduated from college.
Mhm.
So it was the agent talk started happening, I want to say like my junior year, end of my junior year, and then through my senior year. My parents were kind of just taking over that so that I can just focus.
Okay.
Um, and like we were talking about before, there's a lot of pressure and there's a lot of that stuff going on. But in 2003, the WNBA did not have it was on the verge of folding
Mhm.
that year, and so we didn't have a draft camp. So what I ended up doing is going and doing individual workouts with different teams so that they
Okay.
can see me. So like um I'm having a brain fart right now, but the LA
Sparks.
Sparks coach, he is he has connections with New Mexico, and so he brought me out for a workout, and I worked out with a one-on-one with him and Lisa Leslie, and it was awesome because I watched her growing up like as a child, and like she's really the reason why I chose basketball for college because I actually was a better volleyball player than I was a basketball player in high
Okay.
school. But the WNBA was just starting there. And so like she was part of that reason of like, oh my gosh, I have a chance of playing pro in America, you know? So it was so fun to work out with her and have her giving me tips and stuff. And so I did some of those workouts, but we didn't have draft camp. And then I ended up having to graduate early because I had to go to the WNBA early because
Mhm.
so yeah, it was a whirlwind. My agent thought I was going to go earlier than I was going to go, and I ended up going a little bit later in the draft, and it was just like a lot of stress and like not having any clue what was going on, and it was pretty wild.
But that's awesome to say, like, former WNBA player because you got to the show.
I did, and it is definitely something that like I did know what a big deal it was when I was there, but like I think it was my agent after I had gotten not only drafted, but I actually made the team.
Mhm.
Uh, and he was like, I think it was like, you're one of 167 of the best players in the world this year. And I was like, oh my gosh, that blows my mind. You know, like I remember him saying that to me and being like, okay, this is my dream. And I got here, you know?
And that's the greatest feeling, because that's something you can pass now to your kids. And I can say to
Yeah.
my kids, like, I actually got to talk to her on my show, for me. So it's like a true blessing in disguise, though, for you too. But now, here you go. You play, your years for WNBA. Um, I don't. Again, I didn't go from the whole history of if you were retired or injuries plagued into retirement. Um,
Yeah, I definitely it was definitely a rocky so getting to that point was amazing, and then after that things kind of got rocky for me. I did ended up I was on the team that first year. I showed up in those games. I think I had a double one game, and
yes.
the rest of the games I didn't play hardly at all. And then I ended up going overseas and playing in France, and I got a stress fracture while I was there, and ended up having to leave early. And I attribute it to I played an entire season of college basketball, high level, went to the Sweet 16 my
Mhm.
senior year, and then from that I left school early and I went to the WNBA, finished WNBA, and I'm off to Europe. You know, so it was just a lot of playing and a lot of pounding that I got that stress fracture. I ended up coming back, trying to work my way through that. And it didn't heal. I tried even the WNBA, the Minnesota Lynx tried to schedule a game in the pit because they wanted to capitalize on my fame in Albuquerque and the attendance that we got. So they had scheduled a preseason game in the pit because of me, and I
Right.
could barely play because of my stress fracture, and I felt a lot of pressure, and I played in a ton of pain. and they cut me pretty quickly after that. So it was really rough. Yeah. And then I came back and healed from that again. And then I went overseas a few years, and it was just, it's a really tough, at least back in the early 2000s, it was really tough to play overseas for a woman because we didn't get paid a ton. Like, we got paid well.
But it wasn't
But
like what here in America is.
even the men that I met, a lot of men, like I played in Greece, and there was a lot of male players over there that were
Mhm.
making a lot of money, and they were very comfortable in the nicest apartments, treated like kings, and we were making good money, but not the same, not like quite how they were living. And you're away from your home, you're halfway across the world, you're in countries you don't understand. It's a really hard lifestyle if you don't want to live and breathe the sport of basketball. So I made it for a few years. I played in Greece, I played in Korea a little bit, and then I just was done. I didn't, there was a lot of other things that happened off the court and on the court that it was just really hard.
Mhm.
And so I kind of was going to hang it up until I met my biological dad when I was about 25, and he's a Canadian with his Canadian citizenship still. So I got my Canadian citizenship because he had been kind of thinking about it for his other kids. And I started playing with Team Canada. I played with Team Canada for 5 years, and it was
Nice.
literally the best experience. They were like my sisters and my family. Every summer we traveled, we played all over the world, but we had a common goal, which was so different from playing professional, because professional, it's individual, right? Everybody's
Yeah,
getting paid, everybody's out for themselves,
themselves.
for real, like, and that's just the name of the game. And then playing for a country, even though I never lived in Canada, I was the only non-born Canadian playing on the team, but we just had a sense of community and a reason to play together. And so I ended my career with Team Canada, and I played till I was almost 30 with them because I just loved it.
That's awesome, because you could say you played internationally, you played pro, you pretty much touched on all the
Yeah, all the levels.
all the
The only thing
levels.
The only thing I didn't was I retired a year or two early because Canada finally made it to the Olympics, and I wasn't on the team by then.
Ah, that's always the tough one. But
That's okay though. I was getting old.
you still, don't worry, you're still young. So am I.
Thanks.
I mean, I got the grays coming in, but I
Oh,
still
gotta
I
love the Grays. I tell my husband, I'm like, I love the Grays. Keep them.
that's what my wife tells me too, so that's a good thing. So now you come home, you come back, you Team Canada 5 years, which is unreal. You know what I mean? Now you come home. It's like, what do I do? Because
Yeah.
you probably did a 9 to 5er, and then an idea
Yeah.
must have popped in your head.
Yeah. So again, a lot of strange things happened. I I started as a kid. I don't know why. I just always wanted to be a teacher. So that's kind of what I went through while I was playing with Team Canada. I was kind of teaching and coaching at my old high school, honestly. For a couple of years, I was getting my degree, my master's degree, while I was teaching and coaching. And I did a little bit of teaching and coaching in Las Vegas as well. And I just didn't, I kind of got to a point where I was like, this is not for me. I want to get to another level. I want to do something different. So I ended up going and working for my alma mater, University of New Mexico, and got
Okay.
my on their coaching staff there for a few years, and worked for my head coach that I played for. And it was amazing. One of the best jobs I've ever had. Like, I just absolutely loved him. And
Nice.
we just had a really great time. And he ended up retiring. And so then my fiance at the time and I moved to California, and I took a job at UC Riverside
Hmm.
there for a year. And then I moved up to Pepperdine University, and I worked there for 3 years. I really enjoyed it. I loved coaching. I love the relationships with the girls. I just love seeing people learn. I think that's something I really enjoy, and seeing like them get it.
Right.
But then I had my first daughter, and I'm like, I think I had her, and like 8 weeks later I was on like a 14-day road trip, and I'm like, this is tough. Like, I have a baby at home, and like I'm
God,
like,
yeah.
breastfeeding and on the road and having to like do all that mom stuff and try to get like not think of your baby. And anyways, I just was like, this is too hard. I didn't wait this long to become a mom to just be gone all the time.
Right.
We ended up moving out to Texas for my husband's work, and I took a step back and just was a mom for the first couple of years of my daughter's lives. And while I was doing that, I was like, I cannot just not, I have to do something else. And my husband's like, this is your chance to figure out what you want to do. Like, you don't have to go back to teaching. You don't have to go back to coaching. You get to decide what you want to do. And so I spent a couple years just thinking about it. And I mean, long story short, we ended up starting a little side business. It was a subscription box.
Mm-hmm.
And I really enjoyed being my own boss and like kind of running my own little business.
Right.
And I got confidence from it until one day I got an email from the previous owners of the Elevated Closet, which started for like a decade. It was only a tall maternity store.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of just did it out of necessity. And then they, the year before, kind of started doing regular clothes, but they sent an email out that they were selling. And I didn't even know I was on their email list. Honestly, I don't think I'd ever bought from them before. And it was saying that they were selling, and I was like, immediately on the phone, like calling, like, I want to do this. I'd been thinking about having my own clothing line forever. It was always in the back of my mind, but I'm like, I have no experience. I don't know what I'm doing. But because I kind of had that entrepreneurial bug, that email came through, and I was like, I'll figure it out.
Right.
I'll do it. I'll figure it out.
And then here you are, you're selling across, I'll say across America or the world right now. I mean, I like I said, we tried getting in touch earlier this year, and you're like, love to, but I'm a little busy. And listen, I respect that, because when you see your videos, you see what you have to do, you see what's going on, and you're a mom and a wife on top of it, running a household, a family, and your own business. It's not the easiest.
Yeah.
I kind of can relate, because with my show here, it's mine. It's I'm unedited, I'm raw. I like it like that, because it shows the people who I am, but also it sheds light to other people like you. You know what I mean? Like, there's no problems. If you dropped an F-bomb, it's okay, because we all curse a lot. You know what I mean? It's not TV where you have to like, oh wow, I gotta watch what I say now. You know what I mean? Here, if it slips up, it slips up. But that's why, my show is more like a conversation. It ain't 3 million questions. We want to, we're here to know you in the business. You know what I mean? That's what my questions only revolve around. Well, who are you? How did you become this? How did you do this? You know what I mean? So, like you said, the best part is my creativity.
Yeah.
I don't have to be one genre. I could do talk to you about tall women's clothing, but then I can go do music, and then I could do something serious the next week. So it just plays into what you do too. You know what I mean? Which is kind of amazing. And for you to do that at home is pretty damn special. I have to say that.
It is. I was telling my husband, like, I just love the fact that like, there's always something for me to do with my business. Like you said before, like, I'm the only one here doing it right now. Maybe someday I'll be able to expand and hire and all that. But like right now I do everything. I'm marketing, I'm customer service, I'm cleaning up the storage room, I'm doing all of the things, but I'm able to do it at my time. So like when my kids are at school, like I get to take them to school, I get to pick them up, like I get to go to their sports, like I'm there for all those things. And if there's stuff I need to do, I can either do it during the school hours, or if they're home and my husband's home, I can go do some stuff at night if I need to, but it's nice to be able to do it on my own account. And again, like you said, like it's my baby. I probably work on it too much and probably need to shut things off sometimes, but because it's mine and I'm building it, it's like there's so much pride in that as well.
Oh, without a doubt, which I could see, because when you see some of the photos that you've posted on Instagram alone, of even if, like you said, you probably have to hire sometimes some models when it's not you. You know what I mean? It's time, it's money, the photographer, the location, the clothes. I mean, that's easily a 13, 14-hour day alone. And that's dropping the kids off at school, working, getting the kids, feeding dinner, and then finishing up. Like,
Yeah.
you're super mom in my book. You're
Oh, thank you.
you're like my wife, you know what I mean? Like, she's a teacher. My wife is a
Oh
special
yeah.
needs teacher.
Ah, that's what I have my master's in,
Oh,
special needs.
so
Yep.
that's the same thing with my wife, which is
Yeah.
even better. That now I know why we're connecting very well.
There we go.
Um, it's funny because my wife comes home. I'm out the door myself at almost like 5:45 every morning. So I'm out the door. I don't see the kids go. Neither, my wife gets to see them when they wake up. I'll help pack the lunches the morning or the night of, get everything ready. My wife goes to work at 7, so she doesn't see the kids either. So
Yeah.
it's either my mom or my mother-in-law to help us out, which has been, thank God, helpful.
Yeah.
I get home 5:30 from work, start cooking dinner. Next thing I know, it's almost 7 o'clock.
Yep.
After everything's in, and
Oh
I'm just
yeah.
and hang out with the kids. I thank God for my wife because I wouldn't know how to deal with half of this stuff. So I know probably your husband's the same boat like me, but
Oh yeah.
I help my wife whenever I can. You know what I mean? Like, hey,
Oh yeah. That's a
laundry,
partnership though, right? It's a
yeah,
partnership. Like we all do our part, and as long as everybody's happy and they're doing their parts equally,
yeah, and no, and that I fully agree because I don't know how to say it. I'm just thankful because I don't think I could ever do it.
Oh
And
yeah.
if some people are if they're single parents doing it, either they're divorced, something happened, it doesn't matter, and they're doing it. God bless them, because I don't think I would be able to make
Oh
every single event. Like, I've missed already a few events of my daughters, and I feel horrible. But just like when my dad, I honor myself after my father because he worked so hard to make sure I had the life he didn't have.
yeah.
So now I model that. Like, I want to make sure they have everything they need that I didn't have.
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
so my daughter, thank God she got my wife's brains. She got my wife's brains, but she got her dad's tallness and brawnness, probably. I'll say that. But
Love it.
she's a double threat. She's smart like her mom, but she's slick. She's a hustler like her
I love
father.
I
So,
love it.
she can be sweet and sassy at the same time. And it's just a product that I want to make sure, like, my parents taught me very well to make sure I respect everybody. But if
Hmm.
someone bullied you, and I mean, back in the 80s and 90s, it was a different story. You could
Oh
kind of
yeah.
smack somebody around, and that's how things got handled. Now it's like, oh, I'm going to sue you now just because of that.
Right.
So I tell her, like, listen, being a snitch is never the greatest thing, but I think if you just said something to the teacher and kind of let her know that a kid's bothering you, then just do that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So there's things
Yeah.
that, I and you could probably contest of bullying as
Yeah.
growing up. When I was in 5th grade, I was the tallest. I was the
Hmm.
biggest. I owned it. Like, I try owning it, like being big and tall, and say, yeah, but I'm big and tall, but at least I'm not gonna get carded to go see a rated R movie like you will be.
Right.
Or I won't be questioned when I go to a PG-13 movie when you're stuck at PGs and G movies.
Right.
You,
Right.
so there's some advantages to it. And, did I take advantage of it growing up? No, I didn't. I'm not sure
Yeah.
if you did, but I felt horrible sometimes. But as I got older, people were making fun of me, and I just didn't take like their crap.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
something, you know, I remember pushing people. I got suspended. I got
Yeah.
suspended at school, got detention. Don't get me wrong. I fought because,
Yeah. I could imagine that it's different for boys, for guys and girls,
oh,
right?
yeah.
In the respect of being a big, like you were constantly being. I noticed I when I met my biological dad, I noticed this a lot. People always wanted to pick fights with him, especially when we would play. Him and I would play pickup
Mhm.
together, and people want to pick on him because he's the biggest guy in the room, so they want to prove how tough they are. I would imagine that probably is what was happening with you as a tall young man. For girls, well, for me, I guess I could only talk about myself, is I was different and people didn't know what to do with it. Like, I think that they're used to seeing tall guys or men that are big, but when they saw me, I was an anomaly, and it was something that was threatening, especially to like the smaller girls. Like, why does she stand out? Why is she so different? So that's where the kind of bullies kind of came and would try to knock you down a peg. And I was a very shy, very introverted kid that was not sure of herself, and like just it was not, middle school was not good for me. And
I can't even.
Yeah, I didn't fit in the clothes, which is like, my husband has made comments recently. He goes, when women wear your clothes, they don't look tall anymore. And I said, that's because we've constantly worn clothes that don't fit us, so it accentuates that we're different or extra tall or whatever. So like, when you're wearing clothes that fits you, you're like, oh, like, you don't stand out. You don't feel awkward or different.
I guess for me, New Jersey's a melting pot. So I've seen tall girls, I've seen big girls, I've seen all types of kind of girls and guys too. Don't get me wrong, you know what I mean? So for me, it wasn't like an anomaly, but it was kind of funny that you say that, because some of the girls who were a little taller, like, wow, you know, and I'll admit I was one of the mean ones too sometimes. Like, can't you find men's clothes that, you know, you might be a tomboy, but you know.
Yeah. I mean, I wore the men's clothes, so I know.
I mean, you would know, you definitely would know, but it's like, but then again, then I think about it, I'm like, wow, you know, they made fun of me for being big, and, you know, couldn't find, I had to go to a special store to get clothes where it's twice as much, where they can go to Old Navy, something like that, and get cheap jeans for $20, where I gotta spend $60 on jeans.
Right.
So it's difficult, and it's kind of funny that you said that, because I was looking at some of the videos again earlier, just to say, wow, you know, she does make people look good. Like, you see the pictures, even you're with you being the model. Sometimes you're like, wow. What? Uh-oh. Jordan, you got me?
I lost you for a second.
That's okay. I got it. No worries. But I was saying, you know, it's an amazing thing how yourself, as you model yourself too, like how eccentric you are and how beautiful you are, showing it off. You know, some of your TikToks are hilarious.
Yeah, thank you.
You know, I can only imagine what else you get through that, and that's why I was very respectful. That's why I said, let me email her and let her know this is not a joke, because I can only imagine the crap you get.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting, because I know, being on social media, and it's interesting is TikTok is now my biggest audience, of almost 12,000 followers for a business is pretty insane, honestly. But the bigger you get, the more wild comments you get. The wildest one I got was, one of my popular videos was me walking up to the screen, and the caption says, tall girl, I can't find clothes that fit. And then I hunched down and I said, I got you, girl, I'm 6'4", and I point to my logo, right? And I'm walking out the dress, and the comment, this person, it doesn't even hurt my feelings, it just makes me laugh. The comment it was a woman too. Usually the comments I get are mean from men, and the woman comments, "You're a dude!" ! And I'm just like, the only reason that I'm 6'4" means that I'm a dude, like that I'm either a transgender person, or I'm, you know, like it was a negative comment like that. Like, it was just unbelievable to me. And like, honestly, like, there's some times where I have my hair in a messy bun, or I'm wearing something maybe more masculine than I was literally wearing a dress. So it's just really funny that like that comment came across. And so and especially coming from a woman.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, like, women tearing each other down is like the worst for me. So I laugh about that one, but most of the time people are pretty nice in general. get the odd comments about it's usually the fetish comments that bother us the most online is shorter men wanting to.
Oh, I know. Yeah, yeah. You know, you don't have to go that far because I already know when you said what you meant by the fetish part. But that's,
Yeah.
I mean, and unfortunately, that's how it is. Like, trust me, I have more. I don't do much on TikTok because I don't have that kind of following. So I was like, you know what? TikTok for me is just if I'm lucky to find something and laugh, that's what it is for me
Yeah.
now. My following is really Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a lot of you know, I don't have 12,000 followers like you, but you know, I have 600 and something followers. For me as being a small, you know, small podcaster, it's like yeah,
You know, I don't mean to like throw out a number like, oh my gosh, I'm a
no,
big it because honestly, like I've worked my tail off to take
oh
my
yeah,
Instagram to get my Instagram to 5,500 people. It's taken me like a lot of time and a lot of effort. And like 600 people, someone had did a video recently about people trashing people for not having a lot of followers.
mhm.
And it's like 600 people in a room is a big audience. That's a
Yeah.
big audience to speak to, you know? So like, I mean, I played in front of 18,000 people. The fact that I almost have 12,000 people in my brain, I can actually visualize. That's a big influence, you know?
For me, it's was if I was lucky, we had 100 people watch our football games. You know what I mean? So for me, to actually have 690 followers, and I'm following over close to 1,300 people, for me, that's a huge accomplishment because I
Yeah.
switched my personal Instagram into my Sleevey G Instagram. You know what I mean? So I don't post as much personal stuff. Like once in a while, I'll post my wife and my kids. Like
Mhm.
yesterday was the start of the NFL season, and we lost bad to Dallas last night because I am a Giants fan. Um,
Oh.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But we put our gear on, we took pictures because that's who we are. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
we're happy.
Yeah.
I only post that stuff, but like I post about food, blogs. I post about blogs. Like I posted about bullying for my daughter the one day because I was so upset. And then
Yeah.
I just took it upon myself about putting bullying. Why are we doing it? And then I'm saying to myself, well, I was bullied and I was the bullier. So
Yeah. But you might have bullied because you were bullied. That's your way of taking back control, right? Oh,
yeah.
not
So
looking forward to those times.
no, it's difficult, and I'm already in it. You know, I'm from New Jersey, and it's difficult
Yeah.
because here in New Jersey, I call New Jersey a melting pot. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? Because you have diversity, you have tall and short and weird and transgender is the right word now these days. You
Yep.
have you have your you know the LGBTQ too. You know what I mean? Like I respect everybody for who they are.
Yep. Yeah.
And that's one thing I will always say. It's respect, respect, respect. But once you start showing disrespect to me or any of my family, or you disrespect, hey, listen, you can disrespect my shows, tell me you hate my show, I'm fine with it.
Right.
But one word about my family, my wife, my kids, that's it. You're going to
Yeah.
war.
Yeah.
And I literally, if that ever happened, I would literally put it on blast. I'll be
Yeah.
calling it out on Instagram, TikTok. I'll call
Okay.
you, not you personally, but anybody who
Yeah.
did it. I would probably be calling that person out because I'm not down for that. I mean,
Yeah.
now I'll
Bullying is
even
just I thought we were coming out of, I don't know, I guess I'm naive, but I thought there was a time where kids were just being more kind and the bullying wasn't as bad. I feel like we're coming back to a circle of bullying again. I'm
I think what
really,
happened was this COVID.
yeah,
Before COVID happened, I agree with you. The bullying was not as bad. Even as an adult, I'll even
yeah,
say it as an adult, the bullying was not as bad. But then you stayed dormant for was it? We stayed dormant for almost 3 years here in
yeah.
America. You know what I mean? Almost 2.5 years. You think about no going out,
And
no
people became
socializing.
keyboard warriors.
Yeah. And then people are starting to go back out. Then the mask, they make fun of the mask you wear. They make fun of everything you're wearing now. It's like,
Yeah,
you know, my daughter again, she's tall, but she's special. She is my little girl. The one thing I don't take is the bullying for her. You know,
yeah,
she doesn't understand it yet, but she will soon. I
yeah,
just said, sweetie, they're just jealous of who you are.
Well, and I think that it's hard for, I know your daughter's young like mine. I think it's hard for them to see that it's bullying. They see,
Yeah,
because it's happening in a sly way. Like, well, why are you wearing that? Or
yeah.
like for me when I was a young kid was, why are your pants so much shorter? Like,
Hmm.
why are they not right? Like, and it's coming from a curiosity sometimes.
Yeah, it's a
And
curiosity.
sometimes with the younger kids, and then sometimes as you get older, it's, I just want to knock you down a peg because you're standing above everyone else, and you think you're like, they may think you're better than them, so they want to knock you down a peg. Which we're talking about adult bullying. I get adult bullied still too. Like, it's
Mhm.
wild. Like, people just want to take you down a notch and just say snarky comments, or
And
you know,
that's why like I wanted to reach out to you because I just feel like, you have overcome so much from being and what's kind of funny, I didn't know about you had a stepdad, you told me today.
yeah,
So for
yeah,
me, that's like an amazing defeat. And then you never knew your biological dad until you were 25.
yeah,
So that just shows like who you are as a person, showing that, hey, listen, I don't know you, dad, but I want to know you, and I want to get to know you because you're my real dad. And
yeah,
that's something that I think you're the first person that I have heard that had a stepfather and never knew their biological father until later in the years. I've had friends who had stepdads from marriages broke up, they knew their parents, you know what I mean? But I think you're
yeah,
the first official person for me that I met that have said that to me. It's like, wow.
yeah,
And so
yeah,
that's mind blowing, you know what I mean? But I'm so happy that you connected with your dad because that means a lot. My
yeah.
dad unfortunately passed away when I was 21.
Dang.
I lost him at a young age.
Yeah.
I lost him to cancer.
Ah,
It was too late. We knew something was wrong, but my dad's stubborn with doctors like I am now, but I have to go and see doctors.
yeah. Yep.
Um, and that's one thing, I take pride. I said, listen, if I make it past 51, I'm good.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, because unfortunately my dad died when he was 51. He was still young.
Yeah.
He,
So yeah.
he was so young, and he was so vibrant. Let me tell you, he would be here sitting with us laughing and talking about, his struggles as
Yeah.
a man, because my father had to learn how to speak English. He came from Peru.
Okay.
So my mom was from Cuba. So
Oh,
talk
really?
about, yeah. So I got Cuban, I'm Cuban and Peruvian, and they
Oh,
both
wow.
met in New Jersey.
Okay.
So unfortunately, my parents got married in 78. They had me in 79.
Oh,
So whoops.
they got to work.
No, there was a little bit of a mistake in somewhere now. But it was funny. But I always say that to them because it's just the ongoing joke. You know what I mean? Like for me and my family. And
Yeah.
but I always tell my daughter, who only sees a picture of what my father looks like, and she goes, and when she was old enough, she goes, Daddy, who's that man with you? I go, that's my dad. That's
Yeah.
your grandfather. Or in Spanish, we say abuelo.
Yeah.
So for
Oh,
her, so I tell stories about him, the good, the bad, the ugly, and she appreciates that because it means she she gets to know that she had two grandpas, not the
yeah.
one, not my wife's side, but at least now she knew there was a granddad on my side for her. But unfortunately, his life was taken, as that song says, "The good only die young." You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
it's true.
it is
Wow.
true, and I mean, and it's so funny. You know what I mean? Like in ways, like everyone has their mission in life. Like for me, this is it. Like I feel
Yeah.
that giving people platforms to talk on is the best thing for me.
I love
Um,
that.
you know, it, I've have been lucky where I had two-time Award winner come on the show, news broadcaster, Christina Bear, news broadcaster Cara DeFalco, uh,
Oh,
Marissa Brini, Don Smith, all these guys, and then I'm just touched with everybody that's been on my show. And
yeah.
I did an autism show, uh,
Oh,
so I like raising awareness too. So
yeah.
there's things that I'd like to do, and this is something where I think you can, like you said, you're from Texas, and
Yeah.
here I am in New Jersey. You're on probably the biggest platform now. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah. Yeah.
people are going to know who you are, Jordan, because it means a lot to me for you coming on the show. You know what I mean?
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate it.
No, no problem. Listen, I think, I think we covered a lot today so far.
Yeah,
I
we
think
did.
under,
I love it.
and you know what? I want to say respectfully, I thank you so much for coming on tonight or tonight, today, whatever it is now.
It's afternoon. Yeah.
Yeah. I really thank you for coming on, but let everybody know where they can find you actually,
Oh,
all the
yeah.
stuff, please. I would like to
Yeah, it's
share it
pretty
too.
easy for me. Elevatedcloset.com. Sorry for the noise. Is it really loud?
No, I didn't even hear anything.
Oh, good. Okay. I have construction going on right now.
Oh no, I'm not picking up anything, so you're okay.
Great. Okay. So elevatedcloset.com is my website, and all my social media is at Elevated Closet. We're on TikTok is our biggest audience, Instagram and Facebook. Also on YouTube, but I just kind of post shorts on there, but that's it. Yeah.
Listen, I can't thank you enough. As a former Division I player, former WNBA player, former international player of and former
Yeah.
Team Canada player, you know what I mean? And starting your
Yeah.
own business from the bottom up.
Thank
Jordan,
you.
thank you for coming on today. It means a lot. If there's anything we could do, I could do here and help you out too in any way, let me know.
Appreciate you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate.
It's been a lot of fun. I like the conversation, and just, it's just fun to meet new people and get to talk it out. So
I really, that means a lot to me. So, folks, as you can hear her saying these comments, I always get this after the show, but I thank you so much for coming on. As I usually end my show, thank you again, and for everybody, please catch me the next time. Subscribe to that YouTube channel. Check out Jordan at the Elevated Closet on all her stuff. I will have all the whereabouts, where to find her on the page, and hit that subscribe button, guys. I'm getting more people to subscribe on YouTube and Instagram, so keep doing that and help me out, guys. Nothing but love, peace, and happiness. Good night, everybody.